sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. May all be happy. May all be free from diseases. May all see only goodness everywhere. And may no one suffer from any misery. And may the blessings of God make everything else peaceful to us. Good evening, friends. The subject of my talk this evening is what is pure mind. Well, this expression pure mind or pure heart both mean the same thing. They are available in the scriptures of that ancient living faith, Hinduism and Christianity also. But what is pure mind? That will be the subject of my discussion this evening. And also I will talk a little bit about the Hindu concept of mind, because that will be relevant to the topic this evening. And this religion called Hinduism is different from other religions in the sense that here questions are allowed to come, to be asked. The word blasphemy is not there. As a result of that, some philosophies could be accommodated in this religion. Philosophers have many questions, they go on asking. And their answers also are available in Hinduism. There are 6 systems of philosophy in Hinduism. And one of them is called Sankhya philosophy. This is the most ancient of all schools of philosophy that are there in Hinduism. Sankhya. The question has been raised, what is meant by Sankhya? Why is it called Sankhya philosophy? It says, Samyak khyayate iti Sankhya. It explains everything clearly. That's why it is Sankhya philosophy. And who is the founder of this school? Well, there was a sage named Kapila. He is considered the founder of this school of philosophy. And philosophy means, in the Sanskrit counterpart of that word is darshanam. That means seeing. That means the philosophers will be able to help people to see the truth that they're seeking after. So, in the Bible we read that Jesus is giving his teaching to some who are at a lower level of spiritual growth, and he is telling them, this is how you should pray. God, you are in heaven, please listen to my prayer, and so on and so forth. Please give me this, give me that. That is for those who are not that evolved spiritually. Then those who are more evolved spiritually, for them another higher teaching is given. That teaching is, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Said, those who are pure-hearted, they will be able to see God. And the translation uses the word shall, that means they will surely see God. And Hinduism also teaches that those who are pure-hearted, they will experience divinity. And to understand what is purity of heart, I would like to talk a little bit about that Sankhya school of philosophy. According to that school, at the beginning there was one male divine principle and one female mother nature. Male divine principle is called Purusha and mother nature is called Prakriti. In Sanskrit, all the words have gender. What we consider as neuter gender, that is not there much in Hinduism. Something which we consider as fit to have neuter gender, they may have feminine gender in Sanskrit or masculine gender also in Sanskrit. So the word Purusha has masculine gender, and Prakriti, that has this word as feminine gender. That's why Prakriti is considered a mother. But Prakriti did not have what Purusha had. Purusha had consciousness. Prakriti was deprived of consciousness. There was no consciousness in Prakriti. Prakriti was fine matter. All the sources of matter, they are no other than Prakriti. That's why Mother Nature, that expression is suitable for Prakriti. Prakriti was devoid of consciousness, and Prakriti then started borrowing consciousness from Purusha, the male conscious principle. And then after doing that, Prakriti started evolving. Prakriti evolved as this entire universe, including the minds of people also. So, the mind is no other than Prakriti, one form of Prakriti. And Prakriti has one characteristic. It is composed of, it is like a rope, and it is this rope, three thinner strings have been coiled together to form that rope. And that string is called in Sanskrit guna. So three strings have been put together to create a rope, and that rope is Prakriti. So Prakriti is no other than these three gunas. And each of these gunas or strings has its characteristic property. They are all together, like three siblings, and each one is dependent on the other two. They do not exist alone. That is the concept. And what are those three gunas called? One is called Sattva guna, the other one is called Rajoguna, the third one is called Tamoguna. And they have their individual characteristics, properties. Sattva guna, wherever it is present, it endows to that serenity, peace, compassion, love, all these noble qualities. And then wherever we see great manifestation of physical energy or mental energy, there we know that Rajaguna is preponderant. And where there is lethargy, sluggishness, whether in the mental plane or elsewhere, that is the indication that Tamoguna is present there. All these three gunas, as I said, they are together, they are forming the rope which is called Prakriti. And I can say that they are like three siblings. They are together, and each one wants to be dominant by subduing the other two by wrestling. So it has been going on like that. Sometimes Sattva-guna becomes preponderant by subduing the other two. Sometimes Rajaguna becomes preponderant, subduing the other two. Sometimes Tamoguna becomes preponderant, subduing the other two. When Sattva-guna becomes preponderant, and what are we human beings, as individuals, we are no other than these three gunas. And the gunas keep on changing. Sometimes one guna becomes dominant, the other two are subdued, and so on. So that's why there is change in human behavior, we notice. Sometimes a person is very calm and serene and non-violent and loving and unselfish. At another time, that same person becomes selfish and becomes violent and wants to dominate over others. Then still at another time, that person is sleepy. So when this mind is calm, serene and all that, that shows that at that time Sattva-guna has become preponderant as a result of wrestling with other two. And then when there is a lot of manifestation of vigor and energy, physical and mental, that is the indication that Rajaguna has become preponderant at that time, subduing the other two. And when there is lethargy and sluggishness in a person, the same person actually, then it shows that at that time Tamoguna has become preponderant in that person's body and mind. So now I can mention that a pure mind is a mind in which Sattva-guna has become preponderant and is remaining so for a prolonged period of time, most of the time. So that person who has his Sattva-guna manifested that way in him or her will become very peaceful, calm, and very spiritual, I can say also. These are spiritual qualities, and full of love and compassion for others, unselfishness. All these qualities will be noticeable in such a person. So, a pure mind is in one in which there is preponderance of Sattva-guna in it most of the time. So a saint has such a mind. And when Sattva-guna becomes preponderant, then something else happens. Then divinity becomes manifested through that mind. That's why all genuine saints have preponderance of sattva-guna in them. Look at Jesus Christ or Buddha or Ramakrishna or Sarada Devi. They are divine incarnations. In them you can see the manifestation of sattva-guna. And as their mind and body had preponderance of sattva-guna, that's why you see they would have the experience of divinity everywhere. And it may be a good idea now to discuss a little bit about the mind as it is understood in Hinduism. According to Hinduism, mind is matter, extremely subtle matter. It is not anything other than that. And Hinduism also says that every thought that we think, that is not lost. The mind is like a lake, and it goes to the bottom of that lake and stays there. Not a single thought is lost. That's why a person, who is an adult, since his childhood, whatever thoughts he or she had thought, they're all there in the mind. So in the subconscious level, all these thoughts are there. An analogy is used. There is a freshwater lake, and the person has some water absorbent towels, and he's sending those paper towels into water. First it floats on the surface, then it absorbs water, and then it goes down to the bottom of that lake. The mind is exactly like that, and each paper towel is like a thought. And it remains there, layer after layer. So all the thoughts that we have thought since our childhood, they're all there in the bottom of the lake of our mind. And we may say they're in the subconscious level. And Hinduism teaches that everyone is divinity itself. You, I, or anyone has divinity in himself or herself. And in those people in those creatures with minds, there is more manifestation of divinity. And those objects which do not have minds, there is no manifestation of divinity, but divinity is equally present there. A chair, it doesn't have a mind, but it has divinity, complete, it is full of divinity. But a plant, it does not prove that it has a mind, but nevertheless it is more evolved than a chair. And it has a little more manifestation of divinity. and in animals a little more, because animals have minds, and human beings, among them there is more and more manifestation of divinity. But the manifestation is not the same. Those who have pure minds, such human beings have more manifestation of divinity in them. So, if divinity be like the light of an electric bulb, then we are all electric bulbs of different wattage. Some are 10 watt light bulbs, some are 50 watt light bulbs. That means that much divinity, more divinity is there. Some are even 1000 watt light bulbs. They are called saintly people. And then there are some who are extraordinary. They are multi-trillion watt light bulbs. They are called divine incarnations. There's divinity only, just covered with the appearance of a human being. That's why Jesus is a divine incarnation. He says, when the mind becomes pure, then a person can experience divinity. What is pure mind? Well, I was just talking about that lake. At the bottom of it there are many layers of absorbent paper towels. And under those layers there is some bright light. That bright light is divinity. So had it been possible to remove all those paper towels from there, then that light will shine forth. So also in the subconscious level of our minds, all those ancient thoughts are there. They're all numerous thoughts. And how to counteract them? Well, by thinking of holy, unselfish thoughts. That's why the scriptures of Hinduism encourage people to chant the holy name of God. That is purity itself. That will induce sattva-guna. And yes, and these three gunas that I should have mentioned, that is, they cooperate with one another. They are together and they are wrestling with one another, but at the same time they cooperate also. They are like a candle which is lit up. It has its flame, it has its wick, and it has its wax. All the three form that candle. The wax, the wick, and the flame, they are different from one another, but they cooperate with one another. So also are these three gunas in human beings. So, to manifest divinity means making the mind predominantly the mind composed of sattva-guna. Sattva-guna has become preponderant, subduing the other two. If that mind can be kept at that level for a long time, then that person is getting to be saintly. Because when that condition comes, all the paper towels, they have come up, and that bright light which is at the bottom of the lake, that becomes visible. And also another analogy is used to indicate how the minds are. That is, the person's mind is like, in using chemical language, H2O, 2 parts of hydrogen, 1 part of oxygen combined together is H2O. But H2O can exist in 3 states. It can exist as ice, solid state. Then it can exist as liquid, that is called water. Then it can exist as water vapor. All of them are one and the same substance, H2O. So when the mind is like ice, then tamoguna has become preponderant at that time. And when that water has become liquid and it has waves in it and all, then rajoguna has become preponderant in it. And when water has become water vapor, then sattva-guna has become preponderant in it. In a room, there is a chunk of ice and there is water and there is water vapor. They are all one and the same substance, but the water vapor can cover the entire room, fill up, and reach the windows. And so if this room be considered as this world, then world of time and space and causation, then this sattva-guna, the mind which has preponderance of sattva-guna, that can reach the outermost frontier of this world of time, space and causation, like water vapor can do. And such a mind can have an idea about what divinity is. So, those Mahavakyas, which great sentences that are there in Hinduism, they all tell us that we are divinity. We are divinity, but divinity is covered by sometimes Rajoguna and Tamoguna. And Sattva-guna also, but if there is Sattva, it is covered by Sattva-guna, then divinity will become visible. So the mind has to be filled with holy thoughts, thoughts of unselfishness, peace, and compassion for others. Such thoughts are indicative of sattva-guna present in them. And then if such thoughts can fill up the mind, of course it cannot fill up because all other thoughts are also there. But if it can outnumber the other thoughts, then the person's nature will change. The person will appear to have changed and appear to have been becoming saintly. That's why there is the great divine incarnations, they encourage people to chant the holy name of God. Sri Sharada Devi was a divine incarnation. She would advise people to chant the holy name of God. Sri Ramakrishna did likewise. A person came and asked Sri Ramakrishna, what is the aim of life? Sri Ramakrishna said, the aim of life is to know our divinity. How to do it? Sri Ramakrishna said, by chanting the holy name of God and having holy company. Because others who are also doing likewise to have their company. So, pure mind is a mind which has preponderance of sattva-guna in it. And when the mind becomes that way, subduing the other thoughts, outnumbering them, then that person can know that that person is divine. Sri Sharada Devi would encourage devotees to do that. And she herself would chant the holy name of God 10,000 nights every night for the sake of other people. To set an example also. And truthfulness, mental serenity, purity, love and compassion, unselfishness, these are all indications of sattva-guna. When the mind has preponderance of sattva-guna, these qualities will be visible in that person. But unfortunately, people here in this world, they fill their minds with worldly thoughts. And there was a brother monk of ours, his name was Swami Bhaskarananda. He used to say that we try to fill our minds with garbage. Garbage means worldly thoughts. So to have pure mind, one should be able to not think of worldly thoughts. What are worldly thoughts? The thoughts other than the thought of divinity. Thank you for your patience.